All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are loading into this second game broadcast here for the February 3rd Bronze Division Tournament at LOL Tourneys. I am Pyrotechnics, and joining me now, none other than Jamie Lannister himself. It is Kingslayer.
Hey guys, we're jumping into Select, and it was really quickly actually. The bands were going by really quickly, one after the other. Teams knew exactly what they wanted for this game, for sure. We saw the quick and obvious Kassadin ban coming out. That's always a big ban. Everybody always knows about it. We also had a Vi coming out, and Vi is a really strong jungler these days. There's also the Jinx and Leona and a Vayne Shyvana. So we're seeing a couple of main picks being banned out here.
These are fairly typical. I mean, Kassadin being the first insta pick, that's kind of to be expected in just any matchup. Vi is also really popular. Vayne might be a little more situational, and that was a little reactionary, I might think, to the last game. Magikarp Flubber was in this last matchup that we had broadcast, and that Vayne was just really dominating the opponent's Sivir.
Yeah, he played an amazing Vayne that game, and also we see for blue team we have the Thresh and the LeBlanc lock-in. Thresh being the first pick, seeing as their blue team. And they also have a Xin Zhao, and that's an interesting pick. You don't see Xin Zhao often. And then on the other side, we have the Yasuo, and that's always fun to watch. A Yasuo, you can make so many plays on that. We saw recently in the LCS how Chowster and Doublelift had that 2v3, and they came out on top, not losing either of their lives. With a Malphite, and a Zac, and a Janna, so they're actually looking for a lot of AoE fights right now, and a lot of knockups for that Yasuo ultimate.
Yeah, they're really going to be keying off of him, and Yasuo, people are looking at giving him the nerf hammer at some point, but right now he's still really, really powerful. Malphite's hard engaged, Zac's hard engaged, Janna able to disengage those team fights. This is going to be sort of a touch-and-go team that Primal Gaming's putting together, but meanwhile Magikarp Flubber's also picking their next, and we're going to see an Urgot.
Yeah, they're hovering over the Urgot and a Renekton. The Urgot is interesting. Unfortunately, we're seeing a Thresh and not a Soraka coming into this, so we don't see any Yellow Pete and Crepo lanes coming out today, but it's going to change right over to the Ezreal at the last second. I knew he was trolling us. He wasn't going to go with the Urgot. He went with the Ezreal instead, and the Renekton for a top lane, and then Primal Gaming actually decided to lock into Tristana. So they have kind of early game champs here with like the Zac and the Yasuo and the Janna with the Malphite. They're looking for a lot of early damage in team fights with Yasuo. And then they kind of have that split push Tristana that everyone can go for when they just want to say, hey, I'm going to farm late game and not die.
Well, that's an interesting point there. Tristana, in your opinion, Kingslayer, she really coming back into this meta? I don't think we've really seen her a lot at the top levels, but and this is a bronze level tournament. It's not exactly the same as in Challenger League, but Tristana is being seen more and more recently, just all across the board. Is she not?
She is being seen more and more, but I feel it's like they're doing it a lot because since you have those early game dragons, they don't mean much anymore. It's only a couple hundred gold now, where it's worth a lot more later game. The Tristana is such a good champion to pick right now as your AD carry because, to quote the great and almighty Cutie Pie, AD carries are terrible right now. They do not carry your game. What you're doing is you imagine everything as a turret and you kill the turret. Tristana, with her range, she is very easily capable of taking down a turret, especially with her W active. And if you have a Tristana and you plan to go to a late game or even plan to go to a mid game, and you just get that Tristana to get her W, and you can max out that W so quickly, and then you just take down turrets. You're doing your job as an AD carry in this meta for Season 4 right now. You're taking down as many turrets as possible, and that's resulting in global gold for your team, which is going to be map pressure, which is going to lead into team fights at Dragon and Baron where you have the ward coverage.
Yeah, and her W does mean that she'll be able to get out of there really quickly, and of course, most AD carries running the Summoner spell with Flash just to be able to get out, a little extra escape. It's not a bad choice. I think it's a good engage up against that Ezreal. They're both going to be able to jump all over the place and try and get out of the respective CCs. Janna not really running a lot of heavy CC. She's got that soft one on her W. You've got Thresh's hook being a much more powerful presence, but that bot lane is going to be an interesting matchup because Ezreal and Tristana really have a lot of dodge, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like we're going to see a lot of jumps. As soon as an Ezreal ease over a wall, you're going to see Tristana follow him with a jump, with a rocket jump. But then the problem is that Tristana doesn't know what's behind that wall. So she could be jumping into, say, that Xin Zhao who's sitting there waiting, or LeBlanc waiting in a bush, or even, say, that Thresh who's walking back to lane. Like, it's going to rely a lot on map. It's going to rely a lot on vision control this game. It's going to be who has the most vision and who can see where, because then you're also going to have Zac who's jumping into things and Malphite who's ulting into things, and you're going to be looking for all of these jump-ins to knock people up and get that Yasuo to have his initiation that he needs to go in and ult all 5 members. They're going to have to play it well in a point where blue team, they're going to have to be spread out a lot and not get caught out as a 5-man group, because as soon as a Malphite ult hits them, or as soon as a Let's Bounce hits them from Zac, that's going to be a large amount of damage coming from that Yasuo, as long as he isn't focused really hard by Xin Zhao, and as long as he isn't taken down by LeBlanc very early. And with that, he's going to have to do his wind walls perfectly.
Yeah, it's not exactly the easiest champion to play. I can't help but thinking though that the purple team here, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is Primal Gaming. They have a much better hard engage. Thresh able to hook in. You've got Xin Zhao with his E able to close that distance. You've got LeBlanc able to jump in, jump out, as we've been seeing just so frequently. But the hard engage, there really isn't, aside from Janna, who can completely reset team fights, there really isn't full disengage. And they're really going to be banking on that knock-up and Yasuo being able to ult between Zac, between Malphite, and this later game team fights. And then, Tristana being able to split push, like you're saying. I think that's going to come down to the key for this Primal Gaming team.
Yeah, they're really, you can tell with the picks, you don't really see Zac that often, so he is kind of an interesting pick. He's not played that often since the nerf in his passive range, where the bubbles don't reach as far out as they used to. You have to get a little bit closer. So you're really looking, you can tell that they're looking for a lot of knockups. And you can tell that because they picked Zac, who's kind of a out of meta champion right now, just because there are champs who can kind of do what he does a little bit better. Like, say, you could have picked a Gragas jungle and ulted them away, or even had a Malphite ult them, followed by Yasuo, and then a Janna Gragas combo, ult them all away while healing up your own team. It would have to be very well timed, but it's one of those things where you have to think they're really looking that no matter what happens, even if Malphite misses an ult, or even if Zac misses his Q, or his jump, you still have another knock up there where you have the Zac Let's Bounce, or you still have the Tristana ultimate, or you still have the Janna ultimate, because all of those proc Yasuo's ult.
I actually didn't know that Tristana's ultimate actually counted as a knockup. That's interesting.
It's not a knockup. Any displacement really is what it is. Like a Lee Sin dragon kick can be used off of it, because you're able to kick people through walls. So it's like a mini knockup. They're like flying through the air kind of thing. Where like
that wouldn't count with
you
Urgot.
kick them just barely off the ground. With Urgot, no, because Urgot it's like using a teleport. You wouldn't be able to ult someone who's mid teleport. It doesn't work that way.
Gotcha.
So it wouldn't work with an Urgot. That would be super strong though, sitting there, have a guaranteed ult that hits them every time, kind of like a Tristana, but then they don't get any farther away, they get closer to you. So as soon as they get into your team, you ult them and then your team collapses on someone. That could be a really key thing, but unfortunately it's not how the Urgot ultimate works.
All right, well, the game is starting, and unfortunately, we did not leave ourselves any time for the skin war, but just glancing at it, I do think blue team, Magikarp, did manage to get that one. But that's about right. Four skins, that's a fairly oft-seen number, if you might say.
Yeah, it's a number that most people look for in a team. No one really wants all 5 members to have a skin. They want that one person to be the odd one out.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Hey, what are you talking about? The odd one's a great jungler. I don't know what you're talking about.
The odd one is a great jungler. As for items, actually, Yasuo, he started with Crit Glove. So I don't know if I really like the Brawler's Glove start on him. It makes sense because it doubles it, so it's a 16%, not an 8% crit chance. But it takes away a lot you would get from, say, a Doran's Blade, where you would have that extra health and passive HP you get back every auto attack.
And I know this is going to sound really strange, but it does seem to be a little short-sighted, even though you are building for the longer term. You're right, having that really early defense with the Doran shields, and what that provides is able to sustain you in lane a little bit longer, especially if you start not doing quite so well. And, well, I mean, yes, you want to build a lot of crit on Yasuo. That's kind of his point. But this early in the game, that little amount of it isn't going to amount to much. I think you're right that that might have been a little bit of a short-sighted decision, and we'll see if he pays for it.
Yeah, I feel like he's really looking to dominate his lane, possibly have Cult Empire camp it a little bit just to get a couple of kills on LeBlanc. That could be the reason. Just say, hey, I'm going to go straight into that static shiv. I'm not going to waste any time with it. I'm going to win my lane. I'm going to get ahead. And that could be what he's looking for.
Well, let's hope he's going to be able to get that, because he's up against the LeBlanc, and that is not a lane that you can idly sit and try and farm. She will kill you, and very quickly. Action is beginning here in the mid lane. Yasuo just starting to farm up, and no real action beginning even down bot. Both are just attempting to feel each other out. Ice Blue taking a couple of shots onto Silver Narwhal's Tristana, who's making sure she keeps a little bit out of that range from his Mystic Shot. And meanwhile, up in the top lane, we have both players trading farm nicely, giving each other a respectful distance, and no, not quite. Malphite throws a little bit of a rock into Renekton, but all just little love taps to begin with. The two junglers are going about their respective routes. Zac starting at red, Xin Zhao starting at blue, and now taking his red, and he looks like he might be setting himself up for a level 2 gank.
Yeah, he could be. You have to look at it though. Zac, he went over to his race second instead of going straight to his camp like Xin Zhao did, so he's a little bit behind Xin Zhao. But it could pay off, and it could maybe not pay off, because Xin Zhao is able to get an earlier gank now, either in bot lane or mid lane, whereas Zac is going to be a little bit behind because he doesn't exactly have the best clear.
Absolutely.
But he definitely has the more sustain, which is going to help him. But even at that, Xin Zhao, he has that lifesteal that he has. So it's going to be a little bit iffy, but everyone's starting basic items. Only difference we're really seeing in items right now is I'm not sure if Janna picked up a ward or not.
Oh, it just 1 minute. A big engage kind of goes up there in the top lane really early. Renekton zoning Malphite out, keeping his farm low. He's actually doubled it, which isn't saying much to begin with, but Renekton dealing a lot of damage onto Malphite, and he's the one with the Doran shield.
Yeah, Renekton is a really good early game champion, especially with that slice and dice and his heal that he has. It's incredibly good, and on top of his stun, that can deal a lot of damage very quickly. And like you said, Malphite started with the Doran's ring. I don't know how I feel about that. Yes, he kind of has mana problems early game, but that's because he's trying to put harass onto a champion who can heal all of his harass. So it's probably not his best choice.
Yeah, and Zac looking to go for the gank, but he gets found out very quickly by that ward that was cleverly placed in the tri-brush by Pegleg Jack, whose Renekton performance so far is doing quite well. So Zac forced to go over to Golems with his double buffs and not get a gank out. Yasuo, meanwhile, in the middle is forced back to his turret, keeping it well enough away from LeBlanc, not wanting to get anywhere
There's a
near
gank coming in
potential.
bot.
Yep, there is. Here comes Ezreal, gets forced back thanks to Janna's tornado, but Threshook lands, but Regis is very, very low, and Ezreal comes in for the Mystic Shot, misses one, and Xin Zhao has to back. Both bot laners are very, very low for Magikarp.
That was actually a really good gank. They pulled that off really well. Thresh gave no hint that he was going to throw a lantern back for the Xin Zhao. Sorry, I can't really pronounce that name.
It's a bit of a difficult name, I understand.
Yeah, he threw the lantern back, and they instantly jumped over. He didn't make it look like he was going for the lantern gank, so they did really well on that. But I gotta say, Primal Gaming came out on top of that.
They did a lot of damage out of it too.
Yeah, Janna's tornado got over and hit Ice Blue right away, so that means he didn't get in until way after. And then on top of that, Rengari, he didn't really land any abilities because he was trying to chase with Xin Zhao first, so they didn't really get even damage across that.
Yep, here comes Zac up at the top. He jumps onto Renekton, deals a fair bit of damage, but he dashes out of it completely. And Zac, once again, forced to back without getting himself any kills. Again, 5:44 into this game and no first blood. Tristana just get a big hook right in her face, and another good gank. This time Ezreal picks up the kill for first blood. And there's the bad manner from Rengari, spamming the Thresh Laugh. Now that is a disturbing sound.
Yeah, that was actually a really good gank. Rangeri, he hit the hook mid Tristana jump, so he did really well on that, timing the exact positioning of her jump. Tristana rocket jump, it's a good thing to have, but I guess Rangeri, he's just too good for that kind of maneuvering.
And that was some cool particle animations. You saw her just get yoinked right out of the air, too. Having a rocket jump as an offensive tool, it's a bit iffy. I don't know, because then she doesn't have it to get out of there. She didn't have the ability to bump out. She also got melted really fast, but it is what it is. Tristana pick looking maybe a little bit iffy now.
It's possible, and actually Free Enigma going in on Birdie in the mid, just putting a little bit of poke down. I don't think he's actually going to dive for it, and the Ignite goes off.
Ignite just catches him. Free Enigma finishes that up. 2-0 right now to Magikarp, Flubber, and Primal Gaming not too far. They are just barely being edged out, and the gold lead to show for it, about 1.5k at about 7 minutes into this game.
Yeah, Magikarp, they're doing a really good job. Actually, earlier on, Puni Pete got pushed out of lane. Pegleg Jack burned his ultimate, but Puni Pete got away with about 200 HP. Every lane being ahead right now is a really good sign for Magikarp. It looks like they aren't just a one-game team apparently. They're showing that now, being able to contest this, and they're doing a really good job at shutting down that Tristana, not wanting her to get to late game.
Yeah, the bot lane has been pretty interesting, and it's a little bit more even, I want to say, than the other one. The farm, despite that one kill, the farm is pretty well even. The item builds you could talk about for a while, that early Sheen going down in Ezreal, ever so popular, and then the typical more cookie cutter AD build for Tristana with the Vamp Scepter. But I think right now Primal's really worried about the continued gank pressure. They don't know where Xin Zhao is. They don't know that he just took blue buff up top. They have no clue. I mean, the vision is there in the brush. Well, actually, it's not there. Now it's there. And they didn't really have a whole lot to go on, so they're not able to push out. And if that continues, that can snowball in Ice Blue and Rangeri's favor. And, again, these hard engages that Rangeri has with his hook is going to make a bit of a difference if this gank comes down.
Yeah, Tristana and Janna isn't exactly a very good lane. They might actually be looking for the engage there.
Bit of a trade back and forth. Tristana hits her E, the Lantern goes down, Ezreal decides not to take it. And, there's just a little bit of roam. LeBlanc doesn't really know where Yasuo is. He's actually taking Raze just to level up a little bit because he's been forced a little bit behind. The farm is, about 20 in the favor of LeBlanc, who, again, is bursting. She has this earlier power spike. She's now hit level 8. And Yasuo, with just the Avarice Blade, he's going to be playing catch-up for a little while until he can build a little bit more crit.
Yeah, but like I was saying though, the Tristana Janna lane, it's not exactly a very good lane. Yes, there's a lot of disengage if you get caught up, but in Ezreal, Ezreal is a very safe lane and he normally doesn't lose lane. Top of that, having a Thresh, that means Ezreal is able to E away towards you, take a Thresh Lantern, Thresh can flash, and then he's all the way across the lane. You aren't killing him anymore.
Yep.
And on top of that, you also have...
a ward at the bottom. The engage does go down, but Thresh takes the brunt of the damage, misses a hook. Tristana continuing to engage, gets him extremely low. Janna forced to pop the ultimate to reset. And I'm not really sure who got the best of that one. No one got any kills, but Gaming is a little bit low on HP. At least Silver Narwhal is, and Janna's not going to be able to defend this lane herself. It looks like, yep, it's going to be a dragon for Magikarp Flubber.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good call from them. Actually, Cult Empire going in on Free Enigma there, getting him really low.
And he does get the burst down.
The red buff burn is OP, and Magikarp, they are still going to get that dragon, so that's going to be still really good gold for them. They're now up by 2.6 thousand. That's really good. But you have to give props to it. For a Tristana, we've heard people say many times, Tristana, you expect to be behind in CS. She's only behind by about 6. So either Silver Norwal is either doing a really good job in keeping his CS up, or Ice Blue is doing a very poor job at keeping his CS up.
It's hard to say, and that is the highest CS in the game. I'm really not going to fault Ice Blue for that. And Renekton is, of course, really, really zoning out. Puni Pete in the top, Pegleg Jack just really showing the top lane dominance that he has, and there's going to be a Xin Zhao taking over really while Renekton goes and pops that ward in the bush and continues to push out. This gank really isn't going to do much except put a lot of pressure on Puni Pete, who has to go back to his tower anyways. Yasuo and, of course, Cold Empire's Zac are going to rotate up top to try and defend this, but there's just a lot of pressure here. LeBlanc once again signaling, hey, I don't know where the mid laner is. He could be heading up to you right now. Be really careful. But nothing doing. Here comes Dullahan for engage onto Zac. No buffs. Zac tries to flash, fails a little bit, and the Ignite goes down. Zac extremely low. His passive goes off. There's blobs everywhere. Renekton is going to be able to finish these off, and Puni Pete has to go back under the safety of his tower. Cold Empire goes down. And the Ezreal comes in and hits nothing. Unnecessary, but it was a nice touch.
It was a nice touch. He could have possibly just been looking to get a little bit of a KS on Cult Empire's passive there. And Enigma trying to go in on Birdie again. He's been really aggressive towards Birdie this game, and it's paying off. He's up by about 26 CS, 27 CS. He's doing a really good job.
Yeah, Zac has really been giving a lot of attention to that mid lane because of that. They're really banking on Yasuo becoming the carry for them. Tristana, I think you're right, really is just going to take a backseat to pushing lanes, not really able to do much. Pegleg Jack now up in the top lane, proxying minions. Meanwhile, Xin Zhao's Dullahan is coming in to take this tower with his extremely fast hits, and they're going to take this handily and be able to roam. No problem. Now with control of the top side of the map, a roaming Xin Zhao and Renekton is a very scary combination.
I feel like Renekton, Pegleg Jack could possibly still just stay top for a little bit more just to make sure that he keeps Puni Pete behind. Because if you do leave him alone, Malphite can farm pretty well with his W, I believe it is, and his W passive and his E. He can farm fairly well with that. So it's not really something that you want to leave him to do to catch up to you while you're running around roaming. But it does look like Pegleg Jack is going to go into the mid. The ultimate coming out from Yasuo onto free Enigma. Lots of trading being done. Yeah, that was...
Enigma eats a lot of damage, though.
Yeah, Enigma, he did eat a lot of damage. Dullahan took a little bit also. Whereas Cult Empire pretty much got out with no damage, but that's what you expect from a Zac being able to heal up from all of those blobs.
Yep, and he is going to jump in for the extra engage. Free Enigma playing is really dangerously, getting a little too close for comfort, and she sees Zac just in time, backs away. So far, so good. The bot lane, meanwhile, also playing sort of a cat and mouse game, but who's the cat, who's the mouse? It's really hard to tell here. Ice Blue and Rengary doing a real good job of scaring Silver Narwhal off these minions, but as they push up, they really can't keep it up forever, and the farm difference is, you're right, really not that big. 12 CS for a Tristana that you expect to be behind. It's really good.
Yeah, that's really good for a Tristana. And also, you see... Oh, lots of engage. Enigma going in onto Birdie. The Ignite's going to go down. He is going to drop again.
That's the second kill we've gotten from
now.
Ignite from Enigma. That is a really, really good timing he's got down.
Yeah, his Ignite has been really paying off lately, whereas Birdie's Ignite hasn't been doing much. But as for items, if you look at the bot lane, and Gary, he's actually looking to rush that... I can't remember the name of it right now, even though I should, but the upgraded... Nomad's Medallion. He's looking to get that first instead of getting a Sightstone. That means that he's probably not going to be going for a Sweeping Lens until later on in the game when he gets that Sightstone. Instead of going for the early Sightstone and then getting the Talisman of Ascension later, he's doing it the other way around. So
Talisman. I usually just call it Shirelius. I'm still used to the old school name.
I love Shirelius. That was my #1 Sona item. I always built it.
Oh, dude, Sona support is best support. That was a lot of fun back in the day. We're seeing Sona even come back a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, she hasn't thankfully been forced onto Edward yet over in Gambit and the EUS LCS. But we are seeing, it's a lot coming down. Tristana, she's going for that early Bloodthirster and not the crit chance, so she's looking just to be able to... With the Trinity Force going on to Ezreal, you can't really out-trade him if you have an Infinity Edge. You kind of need the healing from the Bloodthirster. So it's kind of a necessity if you're laning against him, especially with a Thresh.
Up in the mid lane, LeBlanc for Enigma lands a big shot onto Birdie, and he's going to have to back out just for fear of coming in again and being bursted down. I mean, Enigma really, really power spiking as LeBlanc, level 11. She's just incredibly strong, and she's going to get a blue buff here so she can spam those abilities. Zac also doesn't really know what's going on in the mid lane. He's saying, hey, look, LeBlanc's gone missing. She's not pushing the lane. All right, I guess I'll just go ahead and farm it up myself. Cold Empire taking over there. But in the jungle, you see Zac doing a little bit better on CS. They both got Spirit of the Ancient Golems. And Xin Zhao, we haven't seen him as much in the meta as a popular jungler. So how do you think he's really performing? I mean, he's been ganking really well, but is that really what's keeping him relevant?
What's gonna really make a big thing for him is that with all that engage you're getting from Puni Pete and Cult Empire, what you're looking at, the Dullahan, his job is basically he's going to be in a team fight around Yasuo where you're going to see Puni Pete and Cult Empire ult in and jump in. And basically what he's going to want to do is he's going to want to time his ultimate, because if you time it properly, mid-ult you can actually sweep back Unstoppable Force and Let's Bounce.
Yep, and here they come on the Dragon right now. They're just taking it heedless of anything that Primal Gaming is doing, and they're unfortunately not able to see it. They've got wards covering the entire side of their jungle, and they're going to take this Dragon uncontested.
Yeah, it's a second Dragon for Magikarp. That's a big thing for them. They're up in a lot of gold now, almost 5k, a little bit over it actually. About 5.4 thousand.
Too. Birdie coming in for that face jack. He doesn't manage to get in the way of it, doesn't take any damage, but now mid lane being shoved by a combination of Pegleg Jack, the Dullahan, and Free Enigma. They're going to get this tower down. It's extremely low, even with Zac, Yasuo, and Malphite there. But the Yasuo ult comes down, a big shot onto all the champions. The Ignite goes down on Puni Pete, probably not the best choice. Zac takes a lot of damage, Cold Empire having to back out now, unless he loses blue buff. Pegleg Jack tanking a huge ton of the damage, Dullahan also taking some. Free Enigma completely scratch free. And they get the turret.
Yeah, that was really well played by Free Enigma. He didn't take any damage, so he did really good there. But you have to give credit to Primal when credit is due. They landed the Zac jump. The Malphite Unstoppable Force, sorry. Landed the Unstoppable Force. They got the Yasuo ult onto two of them. Their problem was that they didn't hit Free Enigma with that, so he didn't take any damage, and that should be their prime focus right now, as he is 2-1 on a LeBlanc.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary to be dealing with somebody, especially that high in CS, who can jump in, assassinate you, and then just leave. And meanwhile, they've also got problems on the bot. Ice Blue and Rengary just take an uncontested bot lane, while Tristana was forced to back. Yasuo is still farming up the jungle. Right now, Primal is getting a little bit deep in the hole. They're down by about 7k gold. And they've sort of abandoned some of their turrets, and that's really all the time that Magikarp needs to shove those lanes, and then just back and buy a lot more items. They're starting to pull ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was saying. It's going to be a big battle of vision control, and Magikarp are winning it. It doesn't, aside from just now placing wards in their own jungle, it doesn't even seem like Primal is giving the effort to ward around things like Dragon and Baron.
Yeah, they're really only getting their own jungle, and that's really the sign of a defensive team, saying, hey, look, we need to be able to see what's going on in our own jungle because they could invade at any time. That's what we're worried about. Meanwhile, Magikarp really showing no fear. They're doing the smart thing. They warded at every bush and opening that there is in and around that side of the Dragon Pit, and you know, there was no contest. There was no vision on it from Primal, and they just completely lost track of it. They've now given up 2 dragons without really any effort at contesting it, and that's not the only thing that's making the difference. The 4 kills to 1, good, but you know, Primal, I will give them props that they haven't really been caught out of position overly. They've been playing it very safely. I just think they might be playing it a little too safe. Now Rengary trying to bait out Puni Pete, and nothing doing. He decides to back out a little bit. Mal Ice Blue pushes up the lane, and they're going to back all the way to their tower. Janna out in the open puts a ward on that dragon. They don't even have the timer on it since Yasuo didn't get in there in time to see, but putting a ward down at least, that's good.
Yeah, it's one step up, but like we were saying, they want to fight in stuff like the Baron Pit and the Dragon Pit. It's a concluded area. Actually, here comes Zac.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, he does scare Free Enigma a little bit out of the way. She's behind the turret right now, taking 1 or 2 shots, but she's going to get out there. Janna going to put a little bit of CC down on her, misses it though, and Free Enigma still at half HP. All of Primal almost is up top, except for Tristana going all the way onto Pegleg Jack, who they managed to finally take down, but they're all extremely low, and this could be the opportunity for Magikarp to shove down the mid lane, down up the top lane, since only Zac is there and he's at half health. They could even take Baron right now, even though it's only 20 minutes into the game. Well, maybe it wouldn't be the smartest decision, but be a ballsy one.
Big thing there, actually. Free Enigma, he didn't get hit by the Unstoppable Force. Puni Pete completely missed his ultimate, got no CC down, and just got himself in a position where he couldn't stop Free Enigma from going away. So that was really reliant on Janna to get there. And all they got out of that was Peg Leg Jack, and that took 5 of them to take him down, and it took a while.
Shows you how big a Renekton at level 13 can get. And, you know, I think I misspoke. This is a little bit too early to be going for the Baron, and the real smart decision is what they ended up doing. Free Enigma staying top, taking it 1-for-1 with Malphite. Also really, really kind of ballsy to go in there on somebody so tanky, but he's doing a lot of damage, even though he's taking a bit, relying on that passive clone to pop up when it happens. And meanwhile, you know, the rest of them on Magikarp are rotating down to the blue of Primal, and they're going to get it for nothing.
The burst that just came out from Free Enigma onto Puni Pete, if you actually look at Puni Pete's build, he has a Zanya's Hourglass, so he's going for a full AP Malphite build. He's not even looking to tank it for his team, giving all of it to Cult Empire to do. And he didn't even have time to use his Zanyas. I think he actually forgot about it because he had a second or two to react there and he didn't. But just from, it was a Q and a W, didn't even use the EL LeBlanc, and that's what took out nearly full HP Puni Pete. A scary thing to have when you get dealt that much damage.
Oh, a good hook lands onto Tristana from Rengary, but that flash out is what saves her. And right now, Primal is playing a bit on the ropes. They're really, really defensive. They're not wanting to go anywhere out from their turret. Zach hiding in those bushes to try and force the engage, but he was seen, and he's just going to go back to jungle farming. And, you know, Magikarp can do what they want right now. They're running around, they're grabbing blue buff, they're grabbing red buff. They can grab another dragon when it comes up, even though there is vision on it. That ward's about to expire. And with 13 seconds on the dragon timer, that's not the greatest time you can have your ward go out on you. And I think they're going to go for another one.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the AP Malphite. It could be what's going to cost them this game just because they aren't going to have someone... It's not good to go in as a Malphite and not have HP to live. And you're actually getting caught up by Enigma here. And still...
right away! That was an incredible burst of damage just for defending the dragon. Sorry to interrupt you, man, but that was some awesome action.
Still, though, no Zanyas. Puni Pete hasn't used his Zanyas. Like, he had time to use it, and he didn't react for it. If he could have had the time to use his Zanyas right there, his team could have collapsed and possibly gotten the kill on Enigma, and then going in and getting more kills, or possibly even a dragon. And the death sense actually goes over the wall onto Silver Norwell, but nothing's going to come from that.
No, but it was really annoying to just get hooked like that. And here comes Free Enigma jumping in, bursting Tristana down to half health before jumping right back out. Oh my goodness, Yasuo runs in, eats a huge chunk of damage. Zac trying to tank it, not enough. They both go down. The blobs are flying everywhere. Ice Blue taking a lot of damage, but he's going to be able to clean this up. Dullahan's going to be able to push this turret. And now Free Enigma jumps in onto Tristana once again, bursts her down a little bit more. Ignite lands onto Janna. She has to back out after landing a tornado, but this mid tower is going down. Peg Leg Jack leading the charge for blue team here.
The only summoner that was used during that by Magikarp was actually LeBlanc's Ignite. Nothing else was used. Whereas if you look over at Purple Team, they have 3 flashes used, Tristana's Barrier. They got a lot taken away from them.
Yeah, I think
and they got 2 towers down.
They're getting a little spammy with those abilities. The team fights are getting a little bit messy. You know, you see somebody as big as Malphite able to go down that quickly. It just really shows you how real bursty this Free Enigma is. I mean, the Haunting Guys, the Deathfire Grasp, the Sork Shoes. It's crazy, and they're just free pushing these towers. They're knocking them all the way back. They've got 5 towers to a resounding 0 of Primal games, and yeah, this is looking real rough for Primal. They've got to pull something out fast. Maybe if they can force a Baron bait and get the advantage out of that. The kill spread still isn't that high, but the CS is really telling a story. Janna gets grabbed by a nice death sentence after being bursted down by LeBlanc, gets out free, but that's going to be just enough time for this mini-wave to push up. Tristana is just a little bit out on the edge there. Puni Pete jumps in to deal a fair amount of damage. Free Enigma doesn't get taken down because that was a clone. I got faked out. They take a lot of damage, but you know, with that talisman, they're able to get out. Yeah, even I got fooled. I always get fooled. I grabbed the wrong Shaco. I grabbed the wrong LeBlanc. Dude, it's terrible.
They're quite the set of tricksters right there for you. But actually, during that, the problem that they're still having is Puni Pete. He ults in and he instantly has to run away because he knows, hey, I'm squishy, I'm going to get bursted down. And he has yet to use his Zanya's Hourglass to save him from his only 2 deaths that he's had it for built both of those times.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're running an AP Malphite. I agree. You expect him to be tankier than he really is, just because. I mean, he's a giant rock. Come on, he's got to be tanky. But I mean, the thing about LeBlanc is, at this point, she can eat rocks.
Yeah, and even on top of that, Puni Pete, he hit 4 people with his ultimate there, and Yasuo never went in. Didn't use his ultimate to get all of them, using that last breath as a huge initiation. The Unstoppable Force hit 4 people, including Free Enigma, who was in there, and had that last breath been used, it would have given Cold Empire to charge up his jump and get in there with them, and that could have turned that fight around. That could have been a game-changing fight for them right there if they had capitalized.
Yeah, unfortunately, they really have not been able to find this rhythm, and you know they are breaking out a little bit more wards. They're able to keep pace with what's going on, but at this point, Primal can't really do anything about it. They can only sit back and watch. Oh, our red buff's going down. Oh, Dragon just went up, and we can't do anything about it. Oh, we have a low tower now that Dullahan and Free Enigma are rotating onto, and at this point, Dullahan can just tank this tower, no problem. That Xin Zhao passive being extremely useful, as well as the lifesteal he's managed to stack up, and you know, Free Enigma dealing the damage she's dealing. It's crazy. Oh, we're also going to see a big push in the mid, this open inhibitor. Ice Blue just going in there on his own, almost just a little bit of Thresh support right behind him, being all the presence they need, and even with all 5 of Primal defending this inhibitor, it's really just a matter of time before it falls, and the mini waves are just starting to go in the favor of Magikarp. And there it goes.
Yeah. Ice Blue actually went with Trinity Force into Blade of the Ruined King, whereas most Ezreals, you'd see them go Trinity Force into possibly a Manamune or even a Infinity Edge or
that good old
Bloodthirster.
blue Ezreal build too. I mean, we've got the Iceborne Gauntlet also being a popular choice these days, but Trinity Force is a pretty gold standard, so it can't hurt when you've got the magic and the AD damage. And it looks like we're going to see a Baron go down right now, and I don't really think, even though they're trying to contest it, Primal may not be able to do anything. Free Enigma jumps onto Yasuo, bursting him down to absolutely nothing right there. An excellent shot from Free Enigma, and now there's no chance to contest this. Janna or Zac don't want to get anywhere near it. They're going to have to turtle this up, and they're still trying, but Short Bow Soldier goes down just as fast. Free Enigma being able to pick these kills off, and now Zac is caught in the middle of it. He doesn't take as much damage. He's going to go for the jump, but Baron Nashor goes down without much of a contest. Now Colt Empire being jumped on once again from LeBlanc. He gets stunned. Israel picks up the kill, and now it's just Tristana against the world here. This is going to be GG if they shove mid to win.
Yeah, it looks like they're actually going to go and try to get all of the objectives, all the towers, all the inhibitors. They're going over to the top lane, and I don't mean to call someone out, but the Dullahan missed his smite there. It was actually Rangeri who finished off the Baron.
Well, it could have been costing them a lot more than it ended up doing. You know, you do want to have those timers down, but there wasn't any contest. LeBlanc standing there, not dealing her damage. Free Enigma was able to just pick off the enemy champions that attempted to get close. Yasuo melted in a matter of seconds. And now look at Silver Narwhal taking all that damage. There's really nothing Primal can do about this. It's been a very slow snowball towards them, and every little thing that Magikarp has done has gotten them slightly more in the lead. They're able to jump in without fear. Pegleg Jack leading this charge, and the towers are falling, the inhibitors are falling. This is game over, and Magikarp showing that dominant performance, you're right, was just not a one-off thing. They're going to go on to the next round.
Yeah, they played so well, especially Free Enigma doing so well, even tanking a bit of the altar right there. He is godlike. He is 8-1. He played such an amazing game. The Malphite again, AP Malphite is a little bit iffy for me. I don't know if I like it. It didn't really do what they wanted it to do there.
Yeah, AP Malphite's a touchy thing, and I don't want to say that definitely lost the game. They really didn't ever get to that point where they could teamfight effectively, and they were banking on Yasuo. It just never happened. So it's really hard to call that.
Yeah, it's a hard call, but it was a good game in the end, though, guys. It was really interesting. Good job to Magikarp. I hope they do well in the continuing rounds. I believe we still have more games to go, though, but I think we're taking a quick music break.
Yep, and we'll be swapping out casters for the next match, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Pyrotechnics, and I am joined by Kingslayer.
It was an awesome time shoutcasting, guys, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the matches. Please stick around. They're coming soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys soon. Don't go anywhere.